Hey folks, this is Ben Gussel. This is going to be kind of a video. Might cover a variety of subjects. I just to start out though, I definitely had too much Jack in the Box late last night, and now I'm paying the price. So, no, I just you know, too much protein late at night can sometimes keep you up, and you know, the Star Wars video game I'm playing, which I want to do a review on. Which I might actually do some, but I'll just talk about it in this video, but I won't go into too much length. Maybe I'll save that for another video. But yeah, Star Wars KOTOR 2 Sith Lords, and it's just needlessly frustrating. I'm very nonplussed by a game. I mean, it's still a great game. It still is a great game. It really is. In some respects, it's better than the first one, but very nonplussed by a certain area in that game, which um, okay, spoiler alert, it's Nar Shaddaa. It's just, if I can't make heads or tails of it, I'll have to go back to an earlier saved game. But it's just ridiculous how it's designed. And you never know who exactly to blame, but it's always the people in charge of a project that should take most blame. Because the programmers just do what they're told a lot of times. They just work on certain code, or I don't know. It's always the person who has the most say and well, most creative control of a project. So, but I'll mention that stuff later. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's racing through my mind right now. A lot of things, and I'll try to get to most of them. Man, I'm thinking about all kinds of stuff right now. It's very hard to go to sleep. Very hard. Um, yeah. When someone has a degree, I'm just gonna say stuff as it comes to my mind because that's the best way of doing this. When someone has a degree, they think that they are wise and they hearken not to the counsels of God. Or multiple degrees. Look, we're all in the same boat. I'm in the same boat. Anybody who thinks they're intelligent and wise and they don't do what's right, how is that any different from someone who doesn't have any degrees? It's just a form of arrogance. And so many people think that because of their position and because of their experience and da 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 da, that they don't have to do certain things that other people do. No, it's not the case. Everybody needs to be good. But on top of that, it's also very blinding to the fact that, well, we're all different people, and if someone thinks a certain way about something because they have a degree, and it blinds them to the realities of another person and what they're like, that's not something admirable in the least. Doesn't matter how skilled or how world renowned that person is and what they're good at. They're never. It's never going to be a credit to their character when they ignore somebody's qualities. I'm not mentioning this is not just college professors here, folks. This is everybody. This is anybody who thinks too highly of themselves, and then they snub somebody, or they get the wrong idea of somebody, or they treat somebody in a way that they shouldn't treat them, or they don't see attributes in another person that they ought to. This is just straight talk here, folks. Straight talk. I don't care how educated or how skilled somebody is, whether they're a teacher or whether they're a businessman or whatever their job is. And when someone ignores somebody and they actually have the intellectual and other facilities in them so that they're capable of truly understanding someone better and they don't, I'm talking about understanding. I'm not talking about making things easier from someone. I'm talking about understanding somebody where they really are at and not snubbing them and not making their lives harder. When someone doesn't help, or when someone doesn't is not sympathetic towards somebody else, or is not trying to help them, how is that a credit to that person's character? It isn't. It never is. It never has been. So I'm going to talk about that later. I think you guys have probably heard this before, but maybe not quite as directly. So I really am getting at more the white collar folks, and I'm kind of putting patting on the. I'm kind of like trying to be sympathetic toward not just blue collar folks, but everybody who has frustrations, to say the least, is alienated from academia, from religions, from whatever. Anybody who they're alienated from all those folks who kind of put themselves up on a pedestal, whether or not they actually do, or whether or not the person sees them putting themselves up on a pedestal. I just had a conversation again with this buddy of mine I've been talking about recently. Again, names don't need to be mentioned. It's YouTube. One of these days, maybe he'll meet some of you guys. You never know, and that'll be different. But no, it's definitely anonymous right now. So we were talking, and he was mentioning how he didn't like how I spoke too much on occasion. I couldn't tell him he was totally wrong. He had some good points. He did. But I had some good points too. But the thing is no, I mean, like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. We're all here to be brothers and sisters to each other. Let me repeat that again. We're all here to be brothers and sisters to each other. And when any of us makes light of somebody, or any of us pushes somebody away we shouldn't, or any of us makes someone else feel small, that is never a credit to our character at all. And it is never something to be emulated at all. I don't know why I'm talking about this so much. I had other things I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry, but it's just, I don't, I just don't get it. I don't get why we're so prideful, and including myself. I have my own faults here too. I'm not completely perfect. No one ever said I was perfect. But I'm not using it as defense. I'm just saying, look, I'm not perfect here. But maybe I have enough things in my experience in my life to mention this. And I feel like I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are so awesome. Even though most of you guys are very, very quiet. I don't hear much from my subscribers, and I usually hear from people that aren't subscribed to me. That's fine. I grow my subscriber base slowly but surely. I'm happy that I'm still happy I'm over 100 subscribers. That's great. 111. If I lose a few, gain a few, awesome. Just keep moving forward. So what else am I thinking about here? This is just the worst part of this is how I'm going to feel when I have to wake up and teach a horn and piano lesson here in an hour or two. I hate it when this happens. And then you have to, I don't know. I really just, oh man, like, it really is very much a reality that so many of us, and I'm including myself, of course, we just don't get how we ought to be. We have to keep being reminded how we ought to be toward other people and in other areas of life. And I won't get into religion too much. I'm talking about true religion. I'm talking about whether you're Buddhist or Jewish or Christian. Don't dwell so much on that. What I'm talking about is true religion. And when we talk about theology, I'll be very considerate because I realize you guys are all of different theology. Look, like it's very healthy to sometimes, change things up. We get in a rut in our work habits. We get in a rut in our thought habits and who we spend time with. We ought to vary it up a bit. No, and I'm not talking about ignoring people that are good people in lives. And some people really are more of a burden. I'll put it that way. Some people really are burdensome. There are some in particular this way, and they ought to change. But it's a tough one. I didn't want to talk about that either so much, but it's healthy to change things up so that we can have new perspectives on things. So that can help us. It can help us to not keep being the same mediocre, sinful people that we all are, right? Imperfect. It's okay. We're all imperfect. It's how but we want to progress. We want to experience new things in life. If we feel like we're not, I feel like I'm rut too. We all need to get out of our ruts. But that's not all. That can mean a lot of different things. But it often is an internal change. It often is. But we all need good people in our lives. It's true. And man, a week's time, no government's holding me back for spending time with people that I want to spend time with. None. I have to ask myself, 41, 42, I can't keep track. Early 40s. I think I'm 41. I don't know. Guess, no, 42. I don't know. Gonna do the math. Why do I forget these things? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to, as someone in my early 40s, now I still feel like I'm in my 30s, but that's just because I'm single. That's just whatever. Um, what was I gonna say? I'm so tired. I, it's just, yeah. I mean, like every time I want to come down on somebody, every time I want to say something critical, I feel like I'll also have to say something like, "But we're all in this together," and I'm like, I have to look back at myself. It's not always about the other person. It's also about me. That's how it always works, people. That's how it always works. Um, I have a brother of mine who is younger brother, one of the youngest. Sorry, I wish I could say his name. It's just the way things are on YouTube. Everybody likes just the way I wish things were different. But a younger brother who has hated it when I quizzed him or when I showed off my musical skills some way. And he hated it because it made him feel dumb. And this other brother has qualities I don't have as much that are absolutely wonderful and exceed my own. And it's sometimes, like we're all kind of different. We can all work on our strengths and weaknesses. Some of us do that. Some of us do that more than others in various ways. And even, regardless of how good we are at something or how righteous we are in our own eyes or in other people's eyes, regardless of all that stuff, it never changes the fact that we all need to be loved. That we all need people in our lives that are good people. That never changes because it ultimately boils down to what really matters in life, right? I've always known this, and I keep trying to encourage other people. I'm not very good at this. I don't talk about this very much, but yeah, I mean, it's very easy for me to dwell on what I'm good at. I should think a lot more about my connections with other people, as well as my own well-being before God. And I think that a lot of people are very similar to me in this regard. A lot of people would rather dwell on how good they are or how wealthy they are or anything other than, oh, I mean, what is what's really going on with my life, my own direction in life? How am I actually doing? How am I actually treating people? Not just how many people what's the strength of my relationships, but how are all the people in my life doing that I really care about? We don't want to ask those really hard questions because they're hard. because, you know, they dig at stuff that we should get rid of in our character. And it's hard, but it's real. If it's real, if it's real, then it's real. If it's just something that we could work on, it's just, you can't change the fact that some things are very real and some things are just, like, I often feel like, some people, how can I put this? There is no justification. There is no justification for um, thinking that whatever doesn't apply to you or to me. There's no justification for it. I'm not talking about these silly laws that we have, or not so silly laws that make sense. I'm not really talking about the legal arena here, folks. I'm actually talking more about morality. But I'm also talking about, just those things we all know that are true. If I think about the wrongs that people have done to me, as my mission president once told me, man, that's just, it's easy for me to do that. It's very easy, especially during these times. And it really, it only serves a purpose. And once you're aware of something, or once you're reminded of something that isn't so pleasant, well, what's the purpose of that? Well, I guess it's just because, what? Is it, I've been wronged? Is it, I need to stick up for myself more? Is it, I need to do this more, that more? I don't know, maybe, depending on what's going on with the thought process. But a lot of times, you know what it is? It's probably just Satan. Or it's probably just my own thoughts, my own psychology. And, whatever's going on in my noggin. But whether or not it's something dark or whether it's something in myself, it's causing me to relive hard things and unpleasant things, regardless of any of that. And mind you, there are people that are very, very, very holy and righteous people that have struggled with this stuff as well. I don't know if you guys know this, but Spencer W. Kimball, one of the prophets of my church, struggled with this a lot. It's not just something, it doesn't matter if you're supposedly wicked or righteous. Many people in this life, in this world, struggle with prior wrongs that been done to them. But as my old mission president said, I had two mission presidents on my church mission, and he just said, it's just I'm not really putting this is not his words verbatim. I mean, he was a little bit tough on me, but he said, like, it's ultimately it's not something that helps you if you roll on things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and nothing good comes of it. Try to, I should try to not pay attention to this stuff that would pull me down. So unless it serves a purpose, it's just like, it's just stewing about stuff. But for folks like myself, it's very hard not to do that. And it's often, again, during these sorts of times, when it's hardest to put that off. I don't know, but it's always very helpful and therapeutic to me to try to see people in the way that, in some small way, that God sees them. Or try not, so many times it isn't people that are despicable. Most people are not unkind. Most people are just kind of consumed with whatever they're consumed with. Their own little life, their own little whatever's in their mind. They don't mean to be unkind or push you off. And it's not something intentional. And a lot of people really are immature, even if they're older. I've always known that. Age is insignificant. It can be significant, but it's often not very significant. So it's just, if I can be so hard on people. Oh man, you guys have no idea. But at the same time, it's like, I'm like everybody else. We're all in the same boat. And if I want to have better relationships with other people, I need to be more humble. But I can't just forget about, well, you know what I'm trying to say. But, like when we're younger, we have these little squabbles and things. Or when we're not as mature in life, or we have a lot more maturing to do or whatever, it's easy to get in these little arguments and squabbles with people. Or it's easy to get in these arguments and squabbles with people just because of the way they are. And then it's irritating to you, and you're just like, ah. It's funny because when, kids and parents, when they get in arguments, what often happens is, on some level, is the parents are like, um, this isn't happening right now. If it's a really bad situation, if it's a teenager, right? The little kids are different, right? Teenagers, it's the teenagers, right? Teenagers are saying something that has some truth to it, and it maybe cuts at the parent a little bit. Sure. Look, it's not. You don't need to be a parent to understand this stuff. You just have to be an aware adult. It's okay. It's just whatever. So teenagers getting at the parent a little bit. Oh, stabbing at him a little bit. The parent says, "Oh, at some level, what my teen is saying is right." Uh, but I know that some of what he's saying or she's saying is wrong, and I'm the parent and I need to correct them. And so the parent responds back, and the more this goes on, so it happens so many times. It's like, it's like, you know, and the parents get drawn into arguments they'd rather not have. But isn't it the case that so many times, not always, but so many times, the kid, the teenager in this case, the young adult, whatever, often has things that they say that are actually true and have merit. And the parents have to, whenever the conversation that's sometimes very heated is all done, the parent has to step back and say, oh, yep, take a bit of humble pie. And if they don't take a bit of humble pie, if they think that they're still totally 100% correct in their own mind, that can cause divisions. That can cause unpleasantness. And that's so happy. That happens so many times. Look, I don't. It just. It doesn't. It's just this is like life for so many people. It's just life. It's life. And heck, it doesn't have to be. I'm talking about parents and teens, or older parents and their young adult, or their adult kids. It doesn't have to be that. It's just anytime you're talking to somebody who's just not as far along in life as you are. You just have these involved conversations, and you know that you're more insightful than the other person. You know that you have these qualities that they don't have as much, and you want to bring them up, and you don't want to make them feel terrible, and you don't want to put them down. And just here and there, sometimes, you never expected that other person says stuff. Oh, you know what? Yeah. You know? Anyway, it just happens. Anyway, so if this is not making a lot of sense, I'm speaking very just generally, hypothetically, but it's okay if it doesn't make a lot of sense. You can come back and watch it later in a few years, several years down the road, you know. And as you guys know, everything I say also applies back to me because, as we're all human beings. None of us are aliens. None of us are, well, that's a different subject. But well, I won't get into that right now. But not all of us are human beings. We all have feelings. We all are sentient. We all have two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. All right. By the way, no, yes, I know about David Icke. Yes, there's stuff in my theology that's very interesting that has to do with life in other planets, but we won't get into that in this video. If you want to look it up, be my guest. Just make sure that what you look up regarding other religions, not just mine, but anyone else's, is actually truly what that person believes. Or is actually, it's not just stuff that's meant to attack that religion. I understand, though, of course, if you want to attack Scientology, I've talked about that subject before. Scientology. Hey, man, I love creative writing. Oh, I love that stuff, but Scientology is fiction. It's L. Ron Hubbard science fiction that turned into a religion. But that's not the point of this video. But the point of this video is just to talk about whatever's been on my mind. So, and there's so many things that buzz around my mind. And I hate it when I'm like this because it's just so hard to get to sleep. But sometimes just so many things are of a lot of worth. A great deal of worth. And, a lot of times the things that are of the most worth I feel in my own psyche and soul, trying to explain, are not easy to explain. And sometimes the best way to understand them is not via the English language. Sometimes it's something different, like music, or like actually experiencing something in life. It can't be explained to you. Some things cannot be explained to you guys, to us, to me. Sometimes we need to actually experience it in life to know what someone was really talking about, and that's okay. That's okay. It's one of the things that I love most about my horn professor at Central Washington, Dr. Steneker. I just mentioned him because he's a horn professor at Central Washington, Dr. Steneker. Is that he is really good at. He's very wise. He's very wise. I don't always agree with everything he believes in, of course. Not 100%. But yes, the vast majority of everything, yeah. I wouldn't have studied with him if I sensed that we were very different. We are very similar. You tend to take lessons from in music, or you tend to study with, if you had the choice, people that you tend to have a great deal in common with, even if, of course, they're older. But that's something that when you have more differences with somebody. By the way, whether or not it's actually somebody that's a mentor in college or just some professor that you just had to have his class because you had to have it for your degree or something. And when you have a professor like that that's more unlike you can still learn a lot from them, and they can still mean a lot to you in various respects. But you may not really always internalize. I mean, a lot of times, so much time, it's just the course content, really. But there's a lot of other things that you can pick up, of course. But it's just less likely that you're going to internalize something from somebody that's more unlike you. I had a college professor that I took composition classes from him a few times, who was really, really not at all diplomatic. Well, he had his way of handling things, but he was a jerk. He was a jerk. Absolutely. But extremely intelligent. Oh, insanely intelligent. And yeah, that's how a lot of composers are. Yeah. But he was into computers, the avant-garde, and he was just his own little world, his own little bubble, and yeah, it's the avant-garde thing. You guys would have to anyway. So no, there's a lot of things I just didn't. No, I didn't pick up on as much from him. And was it my choice? Yeah, but I probably picked up more about musical kinds of things from him than I certainly did about anything character related. Although I'm not saying he's a bad person. He wasn't a bad person, but he was extremely full of himself, extremely full of. Yeah, I was nothing like him, and that's okay for me to say. And I could put him down that way. I feel like it's justified, especially because many other students had similar experiences. And, it was all undergrad work anyway. And that's how, just, whatever. Yeah, more on that later, but um, yeah, I'm just saying this because I think it needs to be said. I know many other people are so frustrated when they have professors that they just don't click with. That makes perfect sense to me. There's it's very, very understandable reasons why that is. And we just like trying to find somebody that we want to get married to, it's not that big of a thing, I suppose. But it's like, especially finding real mentors and people that can move us forward in our careers. That's not always easy. The more elite we get, the more we're looking at, especially skills, but also there's a synergy that comes about when you are working with somebody that is more like you, that is really good at what you want to be good at. I've felt it when I've taught students, especially advanced students, but also just everybody. Well, a lot of students. It all depends. Everybody's still different, but and I've also felt it with my teachers and professors that have been older than me or more experienced than me. And when the synergy is, and anyway, I might have had like another video a little bit later. I don't know when, today or next day, but you know, hopefully I'll get some more sleep today. And I'll catch you guys later. Take care.